Hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to Conversations. This is an episode of the Mindcare Podcast. But for the first time, because we're celebrating World Mental Health Day today, we are attempting to present to you our first live stream ever. So, because we want to include everyone who's been following our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, and because of your wonderful response to our Mind Care podcast, which we launched last September, we thought it would possibly be a nice thing to do if we reached out to you and held a live stream on this special day. So, sa lahat po ng naka-online na at nanonood sa amin, welcome to Conversations, a Mind Care Club podcast. I am Dr. Querubin. Most people call me Doc Lou. I'm a psychiatrist by training and profession and an educator. And as a psychiatrist, of course, my advocacy is really the promotion of mental health. I am also the Chief Medical Officer of Mindcare Club, and so we're very happy to welcome you to Conversations. Our podcast today is going to be talking about the things that are happening to us in our everyday lives. So it's a special edition, and we will discuss issues that impact on our mental well-being. So each episode will feature a topic expert whom we have invited to discuss an issue and particularly to join you in that conversation. So we believe at Mindcare Club that prevention is best. So it's even better that you're able to take care of yourself, which we will espouse. Each episode, we hope to provide you with useful tips and information that you can actually use to take care of yourselves and your loved ones. So for this afternoon, we will be talking about the family and the challenges of parenting in a home that has actually become a multi-purpose environment. So this afternoon, our guest is a developmental behavioral pediatrician. She is an associate professor at the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health and is also the director for research and innovation at the same university. She's the founder of the MedMom Institute for Human Development. But the most important line on her very long and impressive CV is that she's a wife and also a mother of three teenagers. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Tipi Sumpay Tanchanko. Tipi!
Hi!
Hello!
Hello! Hi, Doc Lou! Nice to be here. Maraming salamat. Thanks
Oy,
for
salamat
inviting
ha.
me.
Well, as
Yeah.
I was telling our audience, this is our first venture into live streaming. Hindi kami nagla-live stream kasi hindi naman kami artista, hindi na naman kami sikat, di ba? Pero we want to offer a venue by which people can actually ask questions and also join in the conversation. So, kaya sabi ko, dapat ang iniimbita lang ay mga kaibigan. Kasi at least kung mag-fail ang ating technology, 'di ba? This is our first venture sa mga audience po, no? Unang beses namin gagawin 'to. So we might
Exciting,
have
Doc.
certain glitches. So pasensya na po kayo, pero basta we'll do our best to actually work with you today. So Tipi, kamusta ka?
Ito, nasa bahay, work from
Tagal,
home.
tagal na tayong
Wearing,
di nagkita.
totoo po, Doc Lou. Ayan, wearing many hats. I'm sure kayo din po, ganyan. Kayo po, kamusta po kayo?
Mabuti naman, kaya lang syempre challenge tayo, 'di ba? Kasi the pandemic is like everywhere. So it's affecting every individual and every family. And
Tama.
more so I think because in the Philippines our primary problem is this lockdown has really been going on for a really really long time, no? So kanina nung pinag-uusapan natin, this has been going on for not just 18 months, 19 months na
Parang
ngayon
more,
kasi
19
October
months.
na. More
Yes,
than,
yes.
oo.
Naku, pangalawang Pasko na
So,
natin to.
correct. Episode 2, 'di ba?
Episode
Season
2,
2,
correct.
episode
Season 2,
2.
yes, oo.
Okay, so I was wondering, well, you're a developmental and behavioral pediatrician, so you see
Mm,
children, but I guess the nice thing about the practice that you have is it's not only the children, but even the parents, di ba?
right.
Kasali sila sa interaction.
Mhm.
So based on what you've seen and to everyone else that you have seen in clinical practice, did anything change in the Filipino family and its structure or dynamic because of the pandemic?
Mm. Actually, Doc Lou, ang dami. Ang daming pagbabago. Kasi, di ba,
Hmm.
before, parang very clear ang delineation ng home at saka ng work. That was very
Hmm.
clear. So, during the pandemic, lahat, di ba, bawal pumunta sa opisina. So, ang bahay natin or yung tahanan, kumbaga, naging both work, recreation, resting place natin. So, kumbaga, medyo na jumble-jumble. Buong buhay natin, nasa bahay lang ngayon. And that had a lot of effects on the family, no? And especially, like, the families I've been working with have very young children. Eh, di ba,
Hmm.
parang sa ganitong stage, young family na merong young kids, makikita mo talagang kailangan mo pang alagaan, suportahan yung mga bata. Kaya yung parents na dati meron kang ibang maaasahan kasi pwedeng merong stay out help or pwedeng madaling kila lola. Ngayon, lahat ng responsibility napunta talaga sa mga magulang natin. And there was really that big shift kung titignan natin yung situation ngayon.
Okay. So, bago tayo magpatuloy, no, gusto ko lang batiin lahat ng mga nagpapadala sa atin ng comments. Nababasa namin yung comments ninyo. Hello to everyone and welcome to our conversation for this afternoon. Please feel free to ask your questions and put it on the comments page or send it through Facebook or YouTube. Okay. So, in a scenario, tips where the home has become both the workplace and the school. Okay,
Mm-mm.
a lot of parents. Like yesterday, lang I was talking with someone who is a father to a 9-year-old boy.
Mm.
Tapos isa sa mga dilemma niya was, uh, the child or his son cannot always stay at home kasi nare-restless yung bata. Tapos
Mm.
kailangan mag-aral, then he's stuck with the computer. So
Mm.
how do you manage a home where everyone is just at home, you are also working, the children are studying, no? So paano natin aayusin ang ganong klaseng scenario sa bahay?
Tama. Ako siguro, and I've said this to many parents na nakita ko during the lockdown. I think ang pinaka-importante para rin maging predictable ang mga bagay-bagay sa ating mga anak is to put in some structure. So, pwedeng physical structure yon. Meron kang places for work, meron kang place
Mhm.
for play. Merong iba sa atin, mas may luxury kasi may space sila talaga, no? But even in, let's say, one-bedroom condo, maaari mong gawin yun.
Mm.
Meron ka talagang special, parang designated places. So that's one. Another thing na sinasabi natin sa parents is lagyan nyo ng schedule yung parang araw ng anak nyo. Siyempre, hindi lang yung anak nyo. Even for the parents, if they can put in that schedule because it adds predictability. And when things are predictable, it lessens the anxiety of the family.
Mm.
Even the children, alam nyo, yung very young kids, makita mo mas regulated sila. Pag meron silang routine na na-establish na, and it's been a year and a half, di ba? So sana by now, meron na talagang routine na na-establish tong mga families natin. Hindi yung pagising ng bata, o bahala na siya kung anong gagawin niya. Or maupo ka dyan, manood ka ng YouTube, ng favorite cartoon mo the whole day. So gusto natin meron talagang, kumbaga, some structure na nalagay. And siguro, Doc Lou, ang gusto ko rin important din dito for parents, important kasi that they also take note of the different domains of development ng anak nila, di ba? And yun yung medyo challenge din for us at this time. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng, sige, puro academics lang sila. At this time, kailangan meron din, how am I supporting their motor development, their coordination? How am I supporting their social skills? Lalo na ngayon na, di ba, parang hindi ka pwedeng lumabas ng park. Wala kang classroom na may mga kaibigan ka na makikita. So, yun yung
Mm.
parang task na napunta rin sa parents ngayon na paano natin continuously support yung mga anak natin.
I think it's a very common problem kasi nasanay tayo. I mean, tayo naman, nanay din tayo pareho. We got
Mm-mm.
used to the fact that we go to work, our children go to school. And then when we get home, magsusupervise ka ng homework, 'di ba? Tapos
Kami walang
magdi-dinner kayo.
homework. Wala kaming homework. Montessori schools ang kids ko, kaya, ay, thank you.
Oh, buti walang homework. Pero for
Oo,
most parents na nasa
right. Totoo yan.
traditional school ang mga anak, magsusupervise ng homework, 'di ba? So,
Mm.
that kind of regularity in the
Right.
schedule was changed. So to all of those
Yes.
young parents who are listening to us or watching us today, Doc TP is espousing na dapat merong predictability both in terms of physical structure,
Mm-mm.
no, at saka
Right.
scheduling. So
Right.
dalawang bagay ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, how to manage the space and how to manage time.
Right. Siguro,
I
Doc, yung gusto ko rin idagdag, pati yung how to manage yung, ano yung role, yung piniplay ng magulang. Kasi syempre, iba yung role mo as a teacher and kailangan kahit paano nare-recognize ka rin ng anak mo as an authority figure when it comes to your homework and ganyan. Pero dapat meron ding clear din yung role kung ako yung mommy na nurturing at this time na hindi natin pag-uusapan kung ano yung hindi mo nagawa or kung ano yung score mo during the quiz. But we're really enjoying
mm.
ourselves, learning how to be better family members to all the members of the family. Dapat clear din siguro yung role na yon sa kanila.
Paano yung magiging clear sa mga bata? I mean, wala ka namang nameplate na sinasabi, "Mommy ako ngayon, tas mamaya teacher ako," 'di ba? I mean, how do you communicate that to the children without telling them, 'di ba?
Right. Alam mo, minsan magugulat ka talaga sa mga bata. They figure it out themselves. Kasi halimbawa, kung meron na akong study table, pag nakaupo na
Hmm.
doon si mommy, alam niya, ay, okay, mommy is the teacher, mas firm, alam niya merong tasks na ipapagawa. Versus si mommy na nasa kitchen, uy, tulong kami, magbe-bake kami ngayon ng cookies together. Or gagawa kami ng pancake. So, nadidelineate din nila kung ano yung role. And for some kids, parang yun yung nakakatulong kasi alam niya, okay, ngayon I will really pay attention kasi we have to do this task together pag gumagawa na sila ng school work nila.
Okay. Meron pa akong isang scenario, this time another parent. The question is about having several children who are in different grade levels or year levels, 'di ba? And they are all at home and you have to teach them. How do you manage that?
Lalo na yung mga homeschooling parents. And ito, I've learned it
Hmm.
by following, ito pa, di ba? We use technology. I've been following several homeschooling parents and ang dami ko natututunan sa kanila. So, isang example nito, meron siyang several kids, lahat naka-homeschool. Ang ginagawa niya, yung bigger kids may responsibility to teach the younger kids. Kasi di ba when you teach a subject matter, it's like you're reinforcing learning. Parang sa mid school lang yan, Doc Lou. Di ba? Yung mga higher, mga YL.
May body system.
May body system. Sila yung kunyari gumagawa ng exam. So parang ito, pwede rin yun sa family. The older kids teach the younger kids. Or minsan para sabay-sabay sila, let's say math, yung tinuturo or yung subject matter na gusto nilang aralin. Lahat sila, math yung ginagawa. Pero syempre, iba yung ginagawa nung nasa grade 1 na math, iba yung ginagawa nung nasa grade 3 na anak, di ba? But maaring ganun din kasi yung situation.
And the other thing that I think parents find difficulty with is yung trying to be on top of it. Kasi 'di ba may mga parents na hindi ako magaling sa math. Paano ko tuturuan yung mga anak ko ng math? Malay ko sa science, 'di ba? Yung hanggang definition lang ako ng seed, pero yung parts of the seed hindi ko na yan maturo. So how can parents kasi it's part of parenting now, 'di ba? So how can
Yes.
parents be on top of that kind of situation?
Siguro, sandali, mag-hi muna ako. Hi, Adri! Adri, nandito siya na may shout out. Sige, how to be...
Kilala mo si Adri?
Yes!
Okay.
Oo, sa CMI. Kaya nga sabi ko yung mga Montessori. Sadali, nawala ako. So sabi natin, sorry nawala ako, Doc Lou.
Oh, okay lang. Na-distract ka.
Oo,
Okay, okay lang
na-distract
'yan.
ako.
Hindi
Oo.
tayo mga professional, 'di ba? I mean, ginagawa lang natin 'to kasi
For
sayang
the
yung
love of...
opportunity for the love
Oo.
of talaga. So at least
Mm.
if we can help more people by reaching out through social media, then we'll try to do it. So kesa
Yeah.
nanonood sila ng kung ano-anong hindi naman natin kaya mag-TikTok, so ganito na lang, 'di ba?
Oo nga. Bigla ako napaisip. Pati ba yung papasukin natin? Hindi, okay
Hindi,
na to.
hindi kaya ng
Oo.
powers natin ng TikTok. Okay na
Correct,
tayo
correct.
dito.
Tama, sige. Dali, babalik ako. Ano nga yung question ulit?
Yung paano makaka-prepare yung parents for
Okay.
the lesson. Kasi di ba may
Oo.
lesson
Parang
plan
natatakot kasi sila sa math and science.
Yes,
Alam mo
oo.
kasi, Doc Lou, pag tignan mo, this is elementary math. And
Yeah.
yun yung, di ba, parang siguro ang first na kailangan nating harapin ay yung ating fears. Kasi give ourselves some credit naman as parents na napagdaanan natin yan. Hindi lang siguro natin ginagawa na for a long period of time. But it's like learning how to ride a bicycle. Hindi mo makakalimutan yan, di ba? I-review mo nga lang. May effort for some of us, effort to know yung mga technicalities. For others, kailangan mo talagang mag-review. Yung iba, mindset lang eh. Kasi diba, kung yung fearful ako of math before, baka now's a good time to face your fears and parang, okay, one thing, alam ko kaya ko to eh, para maturo ko sa anak. Kasi meron kang very good reason for you to learn it now, diba? So pwedeng yun din yung approach natin dun sa mga subjects. Pero Doc Lou, I think ang important din is that we need to teach our kids to be independent. Diba dati kasi parang sanay na sanay tayo, kaya hindi natin na-feel because after school, diretso ka sa tutor, may ibang tao na mag-tutor sa mga anak natin.
Yeah.
Or tutulong ng homework nila. I think that's one thing din na pwede natin ituro sa mga kids natin, diba, at this time. Ang gusto natin kasi is to teach them how to be independent. And how do we do that? Teach them how to organize their notes. Kahit na minsan nakaka-distract dahil screen lang yung kaharap nila. How do they, parang, di ba, taking notes is important. Yung bakit dapat hindi bukas multiple screens at a time. Or let them do their research. Ang daming resources on the internet. Actually, yung mga kids ko nga, sila yung nagtuturo sa akin, parang, hindi ko to alam kung paano gawin. Ika, ma'am, i-Google natin, i-YouTube natin kung how to do this. And you know, you'll be surprised at how resourceful our kids are. Talagang ngayon, sila na yung nagtuturo sa atin. Lalo na yung mga techie natin na anak. Hi, Trish! Sila yung tumutulong na at sila yung support din sa atin, no? So, yun.
Ako, I ask my kids for tech support all the time, di ba? Okay. There's this question about how do you deal with children. So I'm reading questions from the chat page, tsaka sa comments. So thank you very much to everyone who's sent their comments. So this is a question from Tinggoy Pebbles Antonio about how do you deal with children who are now tired from doing online school, but during their rest time, they are still on their gadgets.
Okay.
Or that's a common problem.
Yeah, ang gandang question yan. Thank you kay siguro si Pebbles. Si Pebbles
siguro yan.
Okay. So, ako, di ba, parang if you look at the recommendations of the American Academy of Pediatrics for very young kids, di ba sinasabi nila, less than 18 months, bawal sila mag-gadgets. By 18 months or 2 years old, an hour a day. And for older kids, talagang sinaschedule mo, meron kang family plan for gadgets. But what this pandemic has taught us is that we begin to question yung guidelines na yon about gadgets because it's now inevitable that we use technology, we use gadgets to connect to other people, to learn from school. So parang ngayon, meron ding ibang mga societies na nagsasabi na it's not a matter of yung time talaga na very strict. Kasi sometimes parents begin to feel frustrated. They now feel disheartened kasi hindi ko ma-implement yung rule. Like, parang failure on my side as a parent kasi hindi ko mapasunod yung mga anak ko with the gadgets. Pero, ang sinasabi ng iba, what you can do is to review your family plan for the use of the internet and the gadgets. And ang sinasabi nila, as long as it does not disrupt yung key activities of the family, so halimbawa, or the child, then it should be fine. So, ano example
Okay.
nito? Dapat ang gadgets hindi nakaka-disturb sa mealtime. Kasi may house rule kayo na
Mm.
we will eat together, check in on each other during meals. So, kailangan wala ang lahat ng gadgets natin, kakain tayo together. It shouldn't impinge on your exercise time. Kasi ngayon, sedentary lifestyle tayong lahat, diba? And there's that really big, parang sabi nga nila, it's the new smoking daw. Yung sitting down.
Sitting is the new smoking. Yep.
Yeah. So, as long as may exercise ka pa rin, nakalagay yan sa schedule mo, kaya important pa rin yung schedule na sinasabi natin, then, okay din yun. It shouldn't disturb sleep. Kasi meron tayong ibang mga anak, tulog ng parents, nagsisneak pala ng gadget time, nakikipaglaro with their friends at night. So, yung mga ganong instances, kailangan natin lagyan ng limits. Kasi we know that sleep is very important, diba? For growth, for well, a lot of things, 'di ba? Yung regulation for detoxification, important daw yung sleep. And that's why kailangan i-prioritize natin yun. So ako, ang isasuggest ko dito, family meeting. Ano ba yung magiging rules natin? And especially if you have teenagers or kahit na yung mga tweens natin, they should be part of decision making already kasi it makes them accountable. 'Di ba? Hindi yung something na inimpose lang ng parents nila kasi sila rin yung nag-decide kung ano yung tingin na doable for them, and then you hold them to that as parents, 'di ba? Kasi 'di ba napag-usapan natin 'to, ano rin yung mga parang mga consequences or ano yung expectations natin as parents from them.
Right, right. So talagang what we're seeing in this conversation, to all of those who are watching us right now, is there's a crucial role really for the parents to lead the family towards this adaptation, no? Kasi we're transitioning eh. And families who are able to adapt will have children who will be able to grow some resilience and adaptation during these times of the pandemic. We don't know when this is going to end. We don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. So, mahaba-haba pa po ang kailangang bunuin ng mga magulang para isaayos ang mga nangyayari sa mga pamilya, no? But I think that yung maganda dun sa discussion, TP, that you were talking about is that the family is now forced to actually relate to each other as a whole unit. You know, the school, all other social and institutions are not functioning at the moment. You cannot go to church, cannot go to school, cannot work. You don't go to the gym. You don't have your clubs or anything. It's all in the home. But I think the benefit of that really is that parents are now looking at the family as a whole unit. The children are being encouraged to actually step up, the older ones taking care of the younger ones. And then everyone in a family meeting putting up solutions or suggestions so that the whole family can actually survive the lockdown.
Right. And not just survive. We want them to thrive during this time, di ba, Doc Lou?
That's
And
right. So I think it's really nice.
yes, and alam mo, marami akong parents ngayon, nagugulat sila sa mga anak nila kasi parang ngayon lang nila talaga nakilala yung kids nila. They were given that opportunity na, oh, kaya mo pala to. Oh, ito pala yung interests mo. And I think that's one thing nice then that's happened during the pandemic, diba? Because they had that sense of curiosity na, ano ba yung ginagawa or ano ba yung interests ng anak ko ngayon or ano ba yung pwede namin i-explore together. Then those are actually
Correct.
opportunities that a lot of families have taken advantage of.
Okay. So in terms of the managing the time, no, structuring the physical space and structuring the time, I suppose it becomes now important to also observe recess and lunch break, even if the kids are schooling at home, no?
Mhm.
And for the parents also to actually observe their own lunch break and their own coffee or tea break from work.
Yes, I think
Merong quest,
that's
oh,
important.
sorry, sige, go ahead.
No, I think I was just saying it's very important to have these breaks.
Mm.
It can be, I guess you need to decide then as a family, is it going, itong short breaks na to, is it going to be family time or is it going to be me time? Kasi 'di ba, it's
Ah,
important
it's
for
important
parents, yes, to have that peace then, 'di ba, na meron ka ring sacred time for yourself
for
sometimes,
yourself.
right?
Oo. Dadating tayo dun sa ano, in the latter stage in this conversation, papag-usapan na natin yung parents. So,
Mm-mm.
tatapusin ko lang yung questions. There's a
Yeah.
question from Boots, Solano, and Daya about what about younger kids who are not structured while the older ones who are, and then they fight. And then mommy, who is naman work from home, is affected.
Okay, younger kids who are not structured, meaning wala silang activities pa, maybe mga toddlers pa
Siguro
yan,
yung mga toddlers yan, oo.
right? Oo. Actually, alam niyo magugulat po kayo kasi even young kids, pwede niyo silang i-structure. If that's what you mean by structure, no? And again, if they're used to certain routines, like halimbawa, they have a play nook where they can play,
Mm.
you teach them how to pack away their toys after. So, yung sinasabi nila na I'm bored. Actually, a lot of our young kids can entertain themselves and we don't have to continuously be entertainers for them. So just provide them basic rules. O, dito tayo magpa-play. This is your space. This is ate's space or kuya's space. And then respecting that boundary kasi syempre our older kids will also need that space. So again, I think it has to be decided on by the family. Pero wag po kayo magugulat kasi very young kids, as long as alam nila, ito pala yung routine, ito pala yung rules natin, and it's like you've established the behavior very early on, you'll be surprised. They're able to comply most of the time, no? And then,
Mm.
pwedeng, yun nga, so lagay nyo lang din sa schedule na, especially during, let's say, school hours ni ate or ni kuya, you don't like to have a toddler crying or walking in the room and playing with kung ano man yung kailangan ni kuya or ate, no? So, you create that space pa rin for the older child who's, let's say, studying or who's
Mm.
or having a conversation with friends kasi important din yun for them.
Mm. I think one other aspect that parents are struggling with at this time is the kids have no playmates. So if you only have one child, 'di ba? Tapos wala naman siyang cousins or hindi kayo magkakasama sa bahay, then how do we deal with children who are indoors and are not able to go out and play with other children? Play
Mm-mm.
is very important, 'di ba? And
Yes.
Dart Tiglao also asked that question about educational videos and even reading aside. What are other educational activities that we can do with our very active 3-year-old son who is stuck indoors? I think,
Okay.
yeah, that's a common problem.
Right.
Mm.
Maybe we have to define what educational activities are because as you
Mm.
mentioned, play is actually very important and there's a lot of learning that can happen during play. So ayaw natin na puro flashcards or puro worksheets, especially for very young children because they really need to move, they need to explore. Now, ang nawala sa atin is really that social play na, okay, I mean, friend ako dito, pwede ko siyang hatake, and I need to wait for my turn. Yun yung nawala. Pero yun yung limitation natin at this time. But it doesn't mean we don't provide opportunities for them. So right now, you will hear parents who may have Zoom play dates with other families. So kunyari, pareho sila magbe-bake ng pancakes sa other household. Meron silang mga ingredients and then meron din doon sa household nila. And then they do it together. So may conversation, nagkukwento sila. So they do have those kinds of activities these days. And so siguro pag hindi na ganon kataas ang COVID rates natin, I've actually asked some families to see if they can widen their social bubble a little more.
Mm.
Kasi,
Yeah.
di ba, once meron ka namang kapatid mo, yung parents nung anak, so cousins, kunyari cousins sila, is it possible na meron kayong arrangement na, oh, we won't really go out, we'll still be very safe, and but during Saturdays, the cousins will meet so that they will have
Yeah.
face-to-face interaction. And for some families, that has actually worked very well for them during this time. And it's something that the children look forward to. Kasi, uy, Saturday, ano gagawin natin? Meron tayong
Mm.
play. So, and then, yung nature of play is very important. So, meron diyang free play, hahayaan nyo lang yung mga bata, sila mag-invento, nandiyan ang creativity, you support language through play, motor movement na may coordination, may balance, may social, emotional, kasi we work parang waiting for your turn and sharing. So, yun yung mga things na pwede nating makuha through play. And however, if wala talagang chance, wala akong pinsan dito, nasa province lahat, wala kaming neighbors, lahat sila matatanda, then what we ask parents is, kaya ba nila to go down to the level of their kids and learn how to play with their children again? Kasi 'di ba tayo as parents, parang the way we think minsan napaka-sophisticated. Kailangan meron tayong board game, meron tayong equipment para
Mm.
mag-play.
Mm.
Kids natin hindi, simple lang yan. Bigyan mo ng 2 kutsara, mag-drum kayo sa box or something. Happy na sila doon.
Mm.
Or yung mga kahon-kahon ng delivery na pinapakuha nyo ngayon. Gawa kayo ng tower or gawa kayo ng artwork nyo or, di ba? Parang you just need to be creative and you don't even have to buy a lot of expensive things kasi, di ba, parang finances issue din yun ngayon, di ba? See what's available in your house and make use of that and have fun in the process, no? So, yan. Si Doc Angel nandito. So, kung gusto niya matuto ng floor time, si Doc Angel ang expert dyan. Yon. So, floor time, go back to the floor, have fun, use whatever you have. Yan. And there's a lot of learning. Huwag po kayong matakot na hindi siya ganun ka-formal or naubos na lahat ng mga YouTube videos na favorite ng anak nyo. Parang see what's in the house and explore.
Yeah. So, to all the parents out there, I think yung primary message from that last discussion was, we try to be children again. You know, what is it like to be a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old? What games did we play before? When, if you actually think about it, when we were children, we didn't have gadgets. But we didn't go out a lot. I mean, hindi naman uso yung play date. Ngayon may mga play date, 'di ba? Before the pandemic, may mga play date. Back to the question lang, just to wrap up the technology part. May question about, can we just turn off the modem or the Wi-Fi?
Yes, why not? If that's the rule of the family. So parang ako, you talk to your kids pa rin. Kasi ayaw mo naman na parang in the middle of the game lang, zhoop, nawala. It's like
Bad trip yun.
Sobra. Di ba pati tayo, parang you're in the middle of your work or your conversation. Gumagawa pala siya ng homework, bilang zhoop, nawala na yung modem, patay. So baka establish the house rule. So if the house rule is by 11, pull out the plug na to that modem, then that's the house rule. And then masasanay sila. Syempre sa start, so it's always like this. If you want behavior change, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. So, syempre, mag-protest, Mom, I want an hour pa, ganyan. My friends are still awake, we're still playing, blah, 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 ganyan. So, syempre, magpo-protest mo na yan. But eventually, pag alam niya na firm kayo and consistent with the rules, then susunod din yung mga kids natin.
Okay. I want to underscore one word that you use. If you are consistent, no? Kasi yung importante sa parenting, aside to establish kasi the routine, you have to be a consistent parent. Meaning, you're tired now, so you forget that the rule is no more Wi-Fi at 11 p.m. 'di ba? So you can forget the rules yourself. So you have to be very very wary of that, because a lot of times talagang it's modeling, role models
Right.
ang adults sa bahay yung parents, no? So if you are consistent, you know the rules, you implement the rules consistently, tsaka walang favoritism, walang yung ay kasi si kuya puwede siyang mag-ano, gamit ng Wi-Fi hanggang midnight, but everyone else hanggang 11, hindi 'yan puwede. So that's why
Mhm.
the discussion in the family meeting becomes important. Now there's
Right.
an earlier question, Tips, about can you daw make a suggestion about, the framework for family meetings? This is from
Hmm.
Rona C,
Parang wala yata akong maisip na framework. Siguro parang business meeting din yan eh. Establish
May
an
agenda.
agenda.
Okay.
Start with an agenda. And for young kids, hindi mo yan bibigyan ng 10 items to discuss, diba? Kasi we're talking about younger kids. So siguro parang there are some when my kids were younger, ang ginagawa namin, pre-pandemic, Sunday, ang lunchtime natin is like parang family meeting siya na lunchtime. Part of that is saying, oh, how your week was, ano yung mga high points and not so good points during the week. So a lot of sharing. And this is usually over a meal. Kasi meal time talaga is special for a lot of us, di ba? So,
Mm.
yon. And then, parang, okay, ano yung pag-uusapan natin during this week? So, minsan nga, parang sila rin, and especially for yung mga tweens natin or older kids, or even actually mga 6-year-old kids, minsan meron na siya, anong gusto nyo pag-usapan? So baka what you might also want is, sige, may whiteboard tayo and there are points na 1, 2, or 3 points na, okay, we will discuss this when we have a meeting. Di naman kailangan ganun ka-formal. And sometimes it really depends kasi if the occasion calls for it, there was an incident that happened and you needed to process it after. Kasi you don't wait for a week before you process an incident, diba? So, then, pwedeng family meeting na yan. Or if not a meeting, maybe not lang meeting, it's really conversation. Have that serious conversation with your child. And I think that works, no? Pero kami, ang nag-work sa amin noon was we had something regular and it was Sunday talaga during a meal. We'll talk about what happened and ano yung plans natin or if there are rules na kailangan natin pag-usapan and negotiate on.
That's right.
Yeah, yun yung mga nangyayari sa family meetings.
Oh, especially as the children grow up and then they will have their own desires, no? They want to do certain things on their own. The negotiations become really important. I have two young adults now, but I remember when they were kids and then in their teen years, there will be some discussion about what it is we're going to do. So I remember when they were younger, Friday nights were movie nights. Kahit na ano pang movie yan. So we
Yes.
would have at home, you'll just watch. Kahit na you've seen it before, you watch it again.
Right.
If because they want to do it. But the idea there is to create rituals that the
Yes.
children know that there are certain rituals that the family will observe. And katulad ng sa inyo, Sundays, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Importante. So children look forward to that.
Yes. I
And that's
agree. And
awesome.
yeah, so ngayon sila my youngest brother, ganon. And then taking turns. So even the young kids can choose ano bang movie yung gusto natin panoorin at night and or anong board game ang lalaroin natin ngayong Friday night. So meron silang mga ganong
Yeah.
parang times
May
together as a
reason
family.
to be excited. Okay, so medyo shift tayo ng topic ngayon. So we were talking about the parents relating with the children. Let's talk about the parents. Kasi ayun nga, when I was doing the introduction earlier, we were saying conversations will be talking about the day-to-day, everyday things that if left unattended to, will cause mental health problems. And
Right.
since Mindcare Club believes in prevention and self-care, that's what conversations will be about. So segue tayo dun sa how then will the adults or the parents take care of themselves, no? we know that it's a very challenging time, and marami ng different structures of families, single parent families, same sex parent families, families with no actual parents, that the grandparents are the ones taking care of the children and all that stuff. Pero pag-usapan muna natin yung the usual family, in terms of how can they naman take care of themselves, and can they take care of their relationships.
Mm, I think it's very important na self-care is actually very
Mm-hmm.
important. And I think you really need to carve time for that. Kasi lalo na yung mga moms natin, di ba? They will sometimes be relentless with all the duties, all the hats that they need to perform. So, kasama yan dapat sa schedule na ginagawa ng parents. And halimbawa, yung kanina, yung break, okay, if you want a coffee break at this time, then meron din tayong rules. Halimbawa, for parents with young kids, ang minsan sinasabi ko, establish a chill out room. Ano ba yung chill out room na yon? Pag halimbawa, yung kids kailangan ng, instead of a time out, meron silang chill out time kasi they need to self-regulate again. At the same, with the same kind of rule din, pwedeng kaila mom din yon sa mommy na, oh, mom needs a chill out now, or mom needs to chill out now. So siya naman yung pupunta dun sa room para hindi siya guguluhin din ng mga kids. Pero again, those rules have to be established way ahead of time para alam din ng kids, even 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids, alam nila na if mom needs some chill out time, hindi ko siya guguluhin. Hindi ko siya ibabag. Or yung ibang, si dad naman siguro yung puntahan ko if I need anything, di ba? So that's important. And then, syempre, yung very basic, our modifiable lifestyle factors are points that we can work on. So, good nutrition, kasi we don't want to get sick at this time, and we need to make sure that our immune system is working well, no? So, good nutrition, kung pwede, instead of chips, healthier substances yung kinakain natin. Whole food talaga, hindi soda or processed food. So good nutrition, we cannot overemphasize that. That's important. Sleep. Sleep is very important, no? And ngayon kasi, di ba, dahil mahirap na yung delineation ng work and rest time natin, we have to be mindful talaga na weekends, hindi talaga ako mag-open ng emails or ano. And I've actually seen this. Meron ako ini-email sa Switzerland na pag ganyan, meron siyang parang vacation responder. Pagdating ng Friday, 5 o'clock, wala na siya. Hindi na niya titignan lahat ng email niya. Monday na siya magre-respond. So I think yung ganong kind of really drawing the line, I think that's also very important. And then, physical activity. Diba? We have online resources. Pwede ka ba mag-yoga sa following YouTube? Or meron akong favorite din na dancing class kung mahilig ka magsayaw or mahilig kang, kung ano man yung hilig nyo, it's there. It's readily available for us, diba? So lalagyan mo yan ng schedule. And then, syempre, yung stress management natin, ano. Yun yung isa sa mga natutunan ko during the pandemic. I really made it a point to have meditation practice twice a day. So, in the morning, bago gumising yung buong household, yan yung quiet time ko for myself and for my God. So, meron kang time na nilalaan para sa sarili mo na tinatry natin talaga sundan. Kahit na ano mangyari, kahit may deadline ako, ito muna. Ito yung inuuna natin. So, yun, those are parang some tips that parents or lahat tayo, even our young kids, pwede nating turuan ng value, nung paano mag-alaga ng sarili natin.
Again, balik tayo dun sa role modelings. Kasi if they can see how we ourselves as their parents handle the stress, they learn it. It's not something we teach like a lesson in school. It's something we teach by example. The way, and that's very key, no? And as you were talking earlier about kailangan nila matuto mag-self-regulate. Ang ibig sabihin nun is kontrolin yung sariling damdamin, no? Kontrolin yung sariling naiisip o nararamdaman, which is a very important lesson in growing up. na
Right.
you can't have everything that you want right now. It won't happen the way you want it to happen exactly now. But if we are able to demonstrate that we can actually manage ourselves, our own emotions, it also helps the children. It lessens, parang anxious parents talagang breed anxious children, no? I
That's
mean,
true. Yes.
I
Kasi
mean, we see that in practice a lot.
yes, and lalo na ngayon. Kasi 'di ba nga, maraming things na parang hindi, parang out of our control. And it's
Right,
good that we are also able to manage the things that we can control. And there are actually
right.
lots of things na pwede
Lots
nating
of
gawin.
things.
And it's also
Yeah.
important for parents to remember that children help regulate themselves through us. So tayong nagko-co-regulate with our younger kids. So
Mm,
kailangan as parents alam natin paano ko magse-step back, paano ko hihinga ng malalim bago ko sagutin yung anak ko or bago ko
mm.
mag-respond. Kasi minsan, pati yung words natin, na pag nabitiwan na natin, hindi mo na mababawi yan,
Hindi
di
mo
ba?
na mabawi. Oo.
Correct, di ba? And then sometimes, inadvertently, baka very hurtful pala siya dahil bugso ng damdamin natin. So, important yon for us to be able to do that. And important yon for us to be able to help our kids. Because as you said, if parents themselves are dysregulated, then hindi nila matutulungan yung anak nila to
Mm,
calm down themselves.
right. There's a question from Trindel about what can we tell parents who want to maintain their full-time jobs and still be everything to their children in this time of work from home?
Ah,
Naku, ito yung mga super women, supermen, no?
Oo nga. Ako, alam mo, Doc Lou, ikaw rin kailangan ko ng input mo dito. Ako kasi parang,
Sige.
I'd probably ask these parents to go back to their values and to
Yeah.
find out ano ba talaga yung pinaka-important thing. So kung kailangan nilang mag-journal, sit down, take time, get your tea, write it down. Ano ba talaga yung mga important for me, take stock of things. Kasi 24/7 lang yung isang araw natin and 'di ba, parang hindi naman natin talaga magagawa yung lahat. But if your values are very clear to you, then masasagot mo to. Ano ba yung uunahin ko? Ano ba yung in
Mm.
terms of importance, in terms of urgency? Then I think that will help them decide kung ano talaga yung things that will really matter in the long run. Ikaw, Doc Lu, what are
Mm.
your thoughts about this? Ako na
Um,
nagtanong. Yes.
Oo, okey lang. Conversation naman, eh,
Yeah,
'di ba?
well,
So talagang ano, we want to provide inputs where we can and then put our heads together to help everyone who's listening or watching us today. So I think it's really challenging kasi siyempre kung, you want to maintain your full-time job because you need to support your family or to support the children. But then also the children would have multiple demands. I think one of the babalik ako dun sa family meeting process eh. But even before the family meeting process, I think if you're a couple, your mom and dad or whatever relationship you're with,
for
but if you're a
partners,
couple partners or if you have your parents or in-laws helping you, it's to actually look at the kind of help that you will actually need to be able to do all the roles that are expected of you at this time. So, for example, work from home. It's very you can look at your day and say it's very important that I attend all the morning meetings, which will be 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. So, is it possible for someone to be taking care of the children at this time? Because
mm,
that's the requirement. I have to attend that meeting. So those types of negotiations can also happen at home. And also, I think the other important thing here is to accept, no, to accept that we cannot do everything in 24 hours. It's just not possible. So something will definitely have to give. And that is where help from other people becomes important. And sometimes even help from the children themselves, like you can actually honestly tell them that mga anak, hindi ko na talaga to kakayanin, 'di ba? Kung
true.
kung I mean, you have to tell the kids na you have to be quiet. If there is no one who can help you, you can just say from 8:30 to 9:30, you have to be quiet. If they're too young, you can actually have a clock that can tell them the time. From when the hand goes to this time up to this time, dapat quiet lang kayo. And then these are the things you need to do. And you'll be surprised at how your own children can cooperate because they know that it's important. The other thing I think that's helpful is to be present.
Mhm.
Parents have to be uh, present 100%. If it's, for example, you're working from home, you will still be able to structure your day that this is my work from home time. This will be the time for the children. And when the day is finished, you have to be 100% just a parent.
Mhm. Ganda.
Because once the children learn that structure,
Mhm.
alam nila, you can be someone else or something else outside of the home. But I think once you get home, nanay ka lang or tatay ka lang. And you will be doing those things. Ngayon, before 4 o'clock, minsan teacher ka. Or minsan may meeting ka. So pag playing to parang transitioning the family is going to be difficult because it's a new thing, but I think once you get the hang of it and the children are able to understand, they will cooperate and give you the support that you will need. So balik tayo dun sa ano nga ang mahalaga, pero minsan kasi kahit alam mo na mas mahalaga yung mga anak mo, mahalaga din yung trabaho kasi kung mawalan ka ng trabaho, kawawa din yung mga anak mo. So mag-iisip ka ng ibang paraan para merong ibang tumulong siguro, no? Tapos ang importante siguro dun sa self-care, ewan ko, TP, I think importante yung yung looking inwards and just quieting yourself
Mhm.
down. It can be in the form of meditation or reflection, or
Mhm.
maybe for some people, prayer, di ba?
Right.
Or just being with yourself. Kasi if you notice, in this almost 1 hour na, we have 3 more minutes to go na lang. We are actually talking about the different levels of relationships, no? As an adult and as a parent, your relationship to your children, your relationship to your partner, your
Mhm.
relationship to yourself, and your relationship to society, everything else that is required of you. And that is a very complex thing to navigate.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, when you quiet yourself down, I think the attitude at the end of the day of saying, these are the things I did well, and these are the things I think I could be better at, is part of that reflection. It's part of that mindfulness of what has happened to you during the day. Um, so yon, minsan pwedeng at the end of the day, meron kang emoji. How do I feel today, 'di ba? Tapos i-drawing mo yung emoji mo para alam mo eksakto, point to the feeling, point to how you
Mhm.
are because that's part of self-care.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
tips,
Ganda.
madaming pwedeng gawin, madami pang dapat gawin, but I think we have focused so much during this pandemic. If we read all the discussions, everyone seems to be focusing on the new normal, di ba? But no one is able to define it. And I
Mhm.
think that's the beauty of this experience, that the new normal is actually being defined by each and every one of us. And it is defined in our families. And parents are very crucial because of the roles they play in terms of defining it for their children.
Right.
So, ang dami-dami nating points na nakuha from Doc TP. Hindi na namin alam paano ka namin papasalamatan for everything that
Ako,
you have shared with
actually,
us tonight.
maraming salamat for giving me this opportunity, no, to share and to hear words of wisdom from you then, Doc Lou. And siguro thank you then to all the people here watching and putting in their questions. Nakita natin talaga yung importance then of yung parenting during this time
Oo.
of pandemic, no? And it's really amazing seeing how parents made that pivot and how yung resilience nila talagang ang galing. It's something na will really define how our children are. Siyempre, aabangan natin kasi sabi mo nga, work in progress pa rin to. Kung ano yung magiging new normal natin, or better normal, hopefully.
Or better
So,
normal,
yes,
yeah.
it's something that we will look forward to, Doc.
Okay, so we will put a close to our first live stream. We're going a little over time, but that's okay. This is the very first time that we tried to live stream. Thank you very much. I hope it's been helpful to those who've been listening, and then maybe spread the word. Our next live stream will be on October 22. So watch our Facebook page and our YouTube channel for further details. But as I said earlier when we started, today is World Mental Health Day, and we're talking about things that are probably the scaffolding, provide the scaffolding for mental wellness. So people are expecting we'll talk about depression, anxiety, or psychosis and all that stuff. Those are consequences of not taking care of our mental health. And so I'd like to move the discussion several points ahead of that, so that then at the end of the day, you won't really need us to prescribe medications or admit you in hospital, because there are many other things we can do to take care of ourselves and of each other. So, Dr. Tipi Tanchanko is a developmental behavioral pediatrician. You can find her at the Medical City if you wish to consult. She's the founder of MedMom. In the future, we're hoping that we can also put MedMom back up and do online consults with Mindcare Club, but that will wait until Doc Tipi finishes her other academic requirements.
Yes, please pray for me.
We will pray for you. There is so much more that you can do for the Filipino family and the Filipino children. On behalf of the Mind Care Club family, our care team, and our core team members, this is Doc Lu thanking everyone for joining us today. And see you on October 22. May World Mental Health Day be a meaningful one for all of you. Maraming salamat po. Bye, TP.
Bye. Thank you.
See.